surprised he's a dynamic player from Denton. We're now joined by Max Olson, theathletic.com, the king of the portal, and he joins us on 365 Sports. So, Max, the deadline's approaching, correct, when players can get in the portal at least for this time of the year?
Yeah, that's right. Grad transfers can still go in the rest of the spring, but for underclassmen, yep, deadline's coming up here on the, I think, 18th or 19th.
What did you think, and what do you think of Sawyer Robertson, who we had on the show yesterday, the young man from Mississippi State now coming to Baylor?
Yeah, it's funny. As much as the starters and the big Caleb Williams types of the world kind of get all the attention when they hit the portal, you can also go out and find some really good quarterbacks who can at least push your starter or compete for the job or be a very good backup for you. There's plenty of those guys in the portal, especially right now. I thought Sawyer Robertson was a good pickup for Baylor for sure. That was one that I'd heard that one might be coming. I thought there'd probably be some interest on the TCU side, so to see him commit to Baylor tells me that was a pretty good win for them for a guy that I'm sure had some pretty good options. I think that especially when you can, it's so hard these days. Think back a couple of years ago and we would talk about, man, Baylor feels like they got 3-4 really good ones in their room. It's just hard to maintain that anymore, guys. You have a guy and you pick one and then the rest tend to leave. And so, I think when you can go find quality players on other rosters and get them and boost your depth that way, it's really important.
Max, what do you make of Spencer Sanders? He's been in there almost since day one, and you really heard nothing about him.
Yeah, we've heard some stuff. I mean, there's been some talk. I think that certainly looks like going back to Oklahoma State is not an option from everything I've heard. I think that the two that he's been linked to would be Auburn and Ole Miss, and certainly the Ole Miss one's a little bit more curious because they've got a returning starter in Jackson Dart, and so is that bringing a veteran in? They lost Luke Altmaier, their backup, who is going to Illinois. So is that bringing a veteran in to back him up or to push him or to, open competition? Hard to say. And then obviously Auburn with the new coaching staff, Hugh Freeze, interested to see kind of how that quarterback situation shakes out there. Obviously Robbie Ashford got a big opportunity late in the year to audition for that one. So, that's the situation that Spencer Sanders seems to be in right now, which is hopefully getting on at one of those places and maybe not a guarantee that he'd be a starter at his next spot. And certainly I didn't expect that when he went in, but it's been a little bit of a rocky process for him.
Yeah, we were just talking to Barry Trammell. He mentioned like the money piece for Spencer Sanders, and just obviously then there was him in friction with Gundy and all that. Do you think he serves as a little bit of a cautionary tale potentially?
Potentially. You guys. I remember the last year we've talked plenty about Adrian Martinez, and obviously there's he had his issues with the program he left and stuff like that. But this is kind of why you try to keep it to yourself and move forward and try and find a good spot, because that's not as experienced as these guys are. Sometimes it's not automatic that they're going to go exactly where they want. And, you hear that there's been some great issues there too. Like it's just these recruitments, as much as they look like really glamorous, especially for these experienced quarterbacks, they can be a little bit more complicated than you think. And yeah, I think certainly, depending on where he ends up, maybe some regrets about how this all played out.
What did you think of that national championship game on Monday night?
Yeah, wasn't close. Wasn't very close. I mean, we can go drive by drive here. I don't really think we have to. I think
touchdown. Yeah.
Yeah, touchdown. I think Georgia punted one time. That was a good one for TCU.
Right.
No, I think it was. I was disappointed, obviously, that it wasn't closer. I thought if it's going to be like a game like that, you'd at least think that TCU could go out and score 21, 28 points and try to fight in the first half there. But it just got away from them so quickly with the turnovers in the first half, and really just from halftime on, just feeling like you had no chance to get back into that. And so just so impressive. I think this Georgia team, I think probably last year's Georgia team was probably a little bit more talented in my opinion. And so to see the way that they rolled to 15-0 with this group and everything that they did is so impressive. And, I don't think it takes away, like, to me, it doesn't make TCU season fraudulent or say that, oh man, that was bogus that they got to the title game or anything like that. It was an awesome run for that group, but man, they just ran into a buzzsaw there out in LA.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to fight the Avengers, and you're not going to win. But Max, other big recruiting news, I guess, yesterday would have been Jaden Rashada from Florida, that he wants to be released from his NIL, or is at least exploring that because the multi-million-dollar NIL deal has fallen apart. Do you think we will see more stories like this coming in the future, or is this maybe once every few years we're going to see somebody get mad about their NIL deal and then bolt after they've signed?
I think that we will see some stories like this. Honestly, guys, it kind of reminds me of like the Carlos Correa stuff going on, right? Where you're sort of like, what? I mean, it's a big name and reportedly a big deal, and now it's falling apart, and you're like, what the heck's going on here? I mean, I think it's not surprising if you followed the Jaden Rashada recruitment for the past year and the way that he got shopped around, and the way that he commits to Miami and then flips to Florida, and obviously there's a lot of a lot of bitter recruiting battles between Florida and Miami, especially involving NIL. And so, a lot of red flags there with him and his dad. And I mean, in some ways, I actually kind of feel bad for the kid because I think it's a lot of the adults that are having the problems with that stuff. But I think it's you've got a situation where we'll see how it plays out here over the next 24 hours. But I would imagine he's if I had to guess right now, I'm guessing he's probably not going to Florida. And I don't know what that means in terms of what comes next, but man, it's kind of a bad look for everybody involved, honestly. And certainly there's going to be some serious questions about what's going on with their collective and where does this kid go next?
I wonder if proactively, who's going to be the first former player to make claims that he was treated poorly? To almost even come out with a book or whatever about it, or some sort of exclusive interview. Do you think we'll see that after the first 2 or 3 years of the transfer portal
I mean, we may see with this one, we may see the dad try to sue them for breach of contract or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who knows? You know what I mean? This is all brand new territory in some ways. When you talk about making financial promises to recruits and getting them to sign, and then some question as to whether you're delivering on them and the contract or not. And so just a whole new world here. But yeah, you're right. I think probably years from now we will have some tell-alls about what all went on here. And honestly, the Jaden Rashada one that you could probably do a book on based on just everything that's gone on here in the last year. And I mean, hopefully for the kid, he kind of finds the right place to go and can actually go live up to his potential.
Max Olson, theathletic.com, with us, college football senior writer, on Thursdays at 4. So Baylor, which last year was, I guess they had Siaka Ika a couple of years ago, but they have, for the most part, been very, very quiet when it comes to adding too many transfers. This year, Sawyer Robertson, Keatron Jackson, Dominic Richardson, the Barrington brothers, Jake Roberts, Mike Smith from Liberty, Dunson from Miami, a kicker from Michigan State. Do you feel like that they've kind of added to the cupboard, with at least from where you are with those names?
Yeah, I think so. I think they've picked up some good talent there. Was really have kept an eye on the Barrington brothers over the years, just from doing freshman All-American teams and stuff like that. And those guys certainly stood out. Always looked really good in terms of PFF grading and stuff like that. So to see them hit the portal, I kind of knew right away. Okay, these guys are going to have some really good options. But you certainly knew the relationship with the guys on the Baylor staff was probably going to win out there. So really like those additions in terms of fortifying what they're doing up front. I think certainly you needed a weapon like Keatron Jackson last year, and so interested to see him come home and kind of be maybe the missing piece for them. And then Dominic Richardson's a guy that they really leaned on him so much last year at Oklahoma State. The whole run game was built around him because they didn't really trust the true freshman, and he's a guy that has been very productive at times at Oklahoma State. So I think if you can put him in a situation where he is sharing carries with Richard Reese and other guys, I think that's going to be better for him, and you're going to kind of be able to bring out the best from him, which I don't know if we've totally seen yet.
As you posted, it was a couple hours ago, but Auburn with the big pickup of Justin Rogers, the defensive lineman from Kentucky. What have been your sort of initial impressions in watching Freeze and his staff navigate the portal and just get underway?
Yeah, that's a staff that has certainly gone out and chased a lot of premium players since they got there at Auburn, and they've picked up quite a few. I really like that pickup. Justin Rogers is Just one of those big bodies from the SEC that everybody offers and wants. As soon as he went in the portal, you had a ton of SEC schools trying to get him on campus for a visit. They picked up Dylan Wade, the offensive tackle from Tulsa. That was a big head-to-head win over USC for Philip Montgomery and the staff there. I love some, Gunnar Britton, the offensive line from Western Kentucky. Rivaldo Fairweather, a tight end from FIU, who's I think a really good player. They've picked up some pretty good ones here. I mean, it's always interesting to see, especially these new staffs. They go out there and they have a lot of needs, and they tend to be the ones that throw out a lot of offers. And Auburn has been able to go out and win some of those battles.
So Max, Spencer Sanders remains out there. Who else are the elite names? Are there any? Who else is out there that you wait for the shoe to drop?
Yeah, we're kind of hitting that point, especially as you guys know, these teams are getting back to campus here, and spring semester starting, off-season workouts and all that. So it is starting to thin out in terms of like the best available thing that I do. I think Dante Cephas from Kent State is a really good wide receiver who I'm excited to see where he goes. J. Michael Sturdivant, a wide receiver from the DFW area who had a freshman All-America season at Cal. He's got a big decision ahead, probably UCLA and TCU and others in the mix there. There's a couple that haven't hit the portal yet, but are expected to. A couple, big-time recruits who are true freshmen. Walker Howard from LSU, Jaheim Singletary, the cornerback from Georgia. Some of those guys, we'll see how many of those go in here in the next few days. But, it's in terms of like the big names besides Sanders, you're starting to see those guys come off the board. Yesterday, Jordan Birch, the South Carolina edge rusher, went to Oregon. Anthony Lucas from Texas A&M going to USC. Those are two big ones that made commitments yesterday. And so, these good ones that are out there, it's definitely decision time and time to get moved into your next place.
Max, Clemson let go of Brandon Streeter. Dabo Swinney went in-house last time when he lost, both Venables and Tony Elliott. Do you think he stays in-house, or is this a signal of maybe a big Venables-type move coming for him at offensive coordinator?
Yeah, I mean, certainly the curious option there would be, do you bring back Jeff Scott, who left to go be the head coach at USF and did not have a successful tenure there, but I mean, nobody knows that program better than Jeff Scott. And so that would be the comfortable move to bring him back and put him back in charge of the offense. But, you're certainly wondering, is Dabo going to, be willing to bring in new ideas in that place and chase somebody else? Certainly, if Clemson's out there on the market for an OC, I'm sure they're willing to spend and go get a really good one. But if it's not Jeff Scott, I'm curious to see which direction Dabo wants to go in there.
Max, thank you as always. Thursdays at 4, Max Olson, college football senior writer for theathletic.com with us on 365 Sports. The Transformational Committee